The research vessel Ardent floated silently between the stars. Its long silver hull reflected the pale glow of a distant sun, and inside the crew carried out their usual tasks. Among them was Dr. Elias Grant, a linguist who had spent his life studying alien languages. Elias often thought of himself as an odd piece of the puzzle on a ship filled with engineers, pilots, and scientists. While others worked with machines or numbers, he worked with words, meanings, and the bridges between cultures. To many it seemed less important. But Elias knew one truth. Misunderstandings could start wars or end friendships, and the right words could save lives. That truth became painfully clear one quiet evening when the Ardent received a strange transmission. The sound arrived first, soft, musical, almost like the ringing of glass in a gentle wind. Then the translation software tried to shape it into human speech. The voice that came through was smooth, melodic, and filled with urgency. "I am giving you one chance to make love to me, human. Do it now, or it will be too late." The words echoed through the control deck. The captain, a sharp-eyed woman named Rena Torres, blinked in surprise. Did we just hear that correctly? The crew shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some stifled laughter. Others looked offended. But Elias didn't laugh. His heart skipped as he replayed the sentence in his mind. The voice belonged to the Cerolith, a crystalline species few humans had ever met in person. Their culture was still a mystery, their language layered with tones, harmonics, and meanings that machines often mistranslated. Elias leaned closer to the console. "Run it again," he said. The message repeated. "I am giving you one chance to make love to me. Human, do it now, or it will be too late." This time Elias listened not to the words, but to the tones behind them. The Cerolith language was built on patterns of sound that could change meaning with the smallest shift in pitch. To a human, it sounded like music. To a Cerolith, it carried entire stories. Elias frowned. "This isn't what it seems." Captain Torres crossed her arms. "Explain." "The phrase, 'make love,' might not mean what we think," Elias said. The software took the closest possible words in English, but Cerolith speech is filled with layers. That phrase might mean to bond, to join, or even to merge essence. "It's cultural," the captain raised an eyebrow. "So they're not asking you to—" "No," Elias interrupted quickly, feeling his face warm. "Not in the way humans use it. I think it's more serious. They're calling for help, and they believe a human can give it." Silence filled the room as the crew considered his words. Outside the window, the stars remained cold and distant, but Elias felt the urgency in the alien's tone. "Why the urgency?" asked Lieutenant Baines, the ship's engineer. "Why say, 'or it will be too late'?" Elias shook his head. "I don't know. But the Cerolith don't waste words. If they say it is urgent, then something critical is happening." Captain Torres studied him carefully. "And you're sure this isn't some kind of trick?" "I can't be sure," Elias admitted. "But I don't think so. The Cerolith are not known for deception. Their entire species values harmony and resonance. If they're reaching out, it means they've exhausted their own solutions." The captain tapped her fingers against the railing. Finally, she gave a short nod. "Then we set a course. Elias, you're our point of contact. If this is truly a linguistic matter, you may be the only one who can solve it." Hours later, the Ardent entered orbit above the Cerolith homeworld. The crew gathered at the viewing deck and gasped. The planet below shimmered like a jewel. Oceans spread across most of its surface, but rising from the waves were towering spires of crystal that glowed faintly with inner light. Sunlight refracted through them, casting rainbows across the atmosphere. It was beautiful, otherworldly, almost fragile. Elias pressed his hands against the glass. "So this is Cerolith Prime," he whispered. "It looks alive," someone said behind him, and in a way it was. The Cerolith were not like humans. Their bodies were semi-transparent, shaped from living crystal that pulsed with color as they spoke. Their world too was alive, tuned to their resonance. But now, as the ship scanned the surface, Elias noticed disturbances, flickering lights in the spires, unstable patterns in the oceans below. Something was wrong. The alien who had sent the message appeared via a direct channel. Elias stepped forward, his translator ready. The Cerolith emissary introduced herself as Lyraean. Her body shone in shades of pale blue and violet, but the glow wavered with distress. "Human," she said, her voice trembling like a chime struck too hard. "You are here. I feared you would not come. The time is short? Elias bowed slightly, mimicking the gesture the Seraph considered respectful. We came as fast as we could. Please explain. What did you mean by your message? Lyran's glow dimmed, then flared again. Your words cannot carry mine. But the meaning is this: our lattice is breaking. The resonance that shields our world is falling apart. We have tried all ways we know. Only a human can mend it. Only through your bond can the lattice hold. Elias glanced at the captain, then back at the alien. Why a human? What can I do that your people cannot? Because you are chaos and harmony at once, Lyran replied. Your minds are not bound to one song. You create new patterns where none exist. That is what we lack. That is what the lattice needs. The word sent a chill down Elias's spine. To the Seraph, this was not poetry, it was fact. Their survival might truly depend on something only a human could provide. But then he remembered the message and his mouth went dry. When you said, make love, Lyran tilted her head. Yes, to join, to share essence, to open mind to mind. That is what we mean. Do you understand now? Elias's heart raced. It wasn't physical. It wasn't what the crew had thought. It was something deeper, far more dangerous. An opening of the human mind to the alien soul. Captain Torres's voice was firm. What happens if this lattice breaks? Lyran's glow dimmed into a mournful gray. The oceans will boil. The spires will fall. My people will end. Silence fell again, heavier this time. Elias looked down at his hands. He had studied languages all his life, bridging gaps with words and meanings. But this was different. This was no simple translation. This was a leap into the unknown. If he agreed, he might lose himself in the process. If he refused, an entire world could die. Lyran leaned closer to the projection. Her voice was soft but desperate. I am giving you one chance to make love to me, human. Do it now or it will be too late. The words, once strange and almost laughable, now carried the weight of an entire civilization. Elias closed his eyes. He could feel the crew watching, waiting for his answer. And in that moment he understood that this was what his life had led to. Not just studying words, but deciding how far humanity would go to protect another species. He opened his eyes, meeting the alien's glow. Then show me how, he said. Lyran's body flared with light, bright and hopeful. The choice had been made. The next morning aboard the Ardent, the crew prepared a small shuttle for Elias. Seraph had invited him to their capital spire to begin what they called the joining. Captain Torres gave final instructions before he left. You don't have to do this. Elias, she said quietly away from the others. This isn't your fight. You're a linguist, not a savior. Elias shook his head. If I don't go, their world might die. And besides, it's not about me. It's about what humanity represents to them. They believe we can help because we are different. Maybe they're right. The captain studied his face for a moment, then sighed. Just come back alive. That's an order. Elias smiled faintly. I'll try. The shuttle descended through the Seraph atmosphere, and Elias pressed his face to the viewport. The sight was breathtaking. Vast oceans glimmered below like liquid sapphire. Rising from them were colossal crystal spires that caught the sunlight and refracted it into rainbows that stretched across the sky. The colors shifted constantly as if the whole planet was alive with light. The shuttle docked at the base of one of the tallest spires. A welcoming party of Seraph awaited him. Their forms were slender and translucent, glowing softly from within. Each one pulsed with a different shade, emerald, violet, azure, like living stained glass. Lyran stepped forward, her light shining a calm but urgent blue. Welcome, Elias Grant of Earth, she said, her tones harmonizing like a gentle song. We are grateful for your courage. Elias bowed awkwardly, remembering their gesture of respect. Thank you for trusting me. I hope I can do what you need. You can, Lyran replied firmly. You must. She guided him into the spire. The interior shimmered with shifting lights that seemed to respond to their footsteps. Elias marveled at the architecture. It was neither built nor carved but grown, as if the crystals had shaped themselves into halls and chambers over centuries. At the center of the spire, he was led into a circular chamber where hundreds of Seraph had gathered. Their lights filled the room with a living glow. In the middle stood a great crystal lattice taller than a skyscraper, humming with unstable energy. It pulsed erratically, cracks of dimness spreading through its structure. Lyraean gestured toward it. This is our world's heart. It is failing. Elias stepped closer, feeling a strange vibration in the air. The lattice sang, though the song was broken, discordant. It hurt his ears, yet pulled at his soul. What exactly do you need me to do? He asked. Lyraean's glow shifted uncertainly. To join, to merge your essence with ours, to bring the unpredictable patterns of your kind into the lattice. That will stabilize it. Elias frowned. Join how? Do you mean physically? Mentally, spiritually? The Seraph murmured among themselves, their lights flickering in confusion. Lyraean finally answered. We do not separate those things as you do. For us to join is to open all doors, mind, body, and spirit, into resonance. That is what we meant when we said you must make love to us. To open completely. To trust fully. Elias rubbed his forehead. You see, in human language, that phrase means something very different. That's why we were confused. Lyraean tilted her head, her glow curious. Different? How? He hesitated, unsure how to explain human intimacy to a crystalline being. It usually means a physical act shared between two people. A private thing, not what you mean at all. The Seraph chamber flickered with surprise, then soft laughter-like tones spread through the group, resonating like a wind chime in a breeze. Lyraean glowed warmly. Ah, then we spoke wrongly. Forgive us. Our words found poor shape in your tongue. Elias chuckled nervously. It's all right. But now I understand better. Still, the misunderstanding had revealed something important. This joining wasn't about romance or desire. It was about survival, connection, and the very fabric of two species learning to trust each other. Over the next few days, Elias was trained in the basics of Seraph resonance. He stayed within the spire, surrounded by teachers who guided him with patience and song. They taught him how to listen, not with his ears, but with his mind. The lattice, they explained, was a network of energy tuned to the emotions of their species. When their harmony faltered, the lattice weakened. Elias struggled at first. Human thoughts were messy, filled with doubts and distractions. When the Seraph shared their resonance, their minds moved like a choir singing in perfect pitch. When Elias joined, his thoughts scattered like drums beating off rhythm. Lyraean encouraged him gently. Do not silence your chaos. That is your gift. We need it. But won't my noise just break your harmony even more? Elias asked, frustrated. No, she said softly. Your noise becomes a new harmony. Where our voices are bound, yours is free. That freedom is the pattern the lattice craves. Her words gave him courage. Slowly, he began to open himself more during the exercises. He allowed his emotions, his fear, his hope, his memories, to flow into the resonance field. And to his surprise, the Seraph adapted. They wove his chaotic pulses into their song, and the lattice's cracks seemed to flicker less violently. Each night, Elias returned to his quarters exhausted but hopeful. He felt himself changing. The Seraph didn't just hear his thoughts. They felt them. His childhood memories, his dreams of exploration, even his loneliness. And in return, he felt theirs. The joy of crystal rainstorms, the pride of centuries of harmony, the sorrow of their failing world. It was overwhelming, yet strangely comforting. For the first time, Elias truly understood what it meant to be connected to another species. One evening, after a long session, Elias sat with Lyraean at the edge of a balcony overlooking the ocean. The sun was setting and the crystal spires reflected the light into rivers of fire across the waves. Do you ever fear it won't work? Elias asked quietly. Lyraean's glow dimmed. Yes, every moment. But I also believe your presence has already changed the lattice. It listens to you. It bends toward you. Elias looked down at his hands. I'm just one man. Why me? Because you came, Lyraean said simply. Others might have turned away. But you opened your heart. That is the beginning of all things. Her words settled deep within him. For years, Elias had felt like an outsider among his own people. He wasn't a soldier or a commander. He was a man of words. Yet here, those words, that openness, were the very thing keeping hope alive. But not everyone agreed with Lyraean's faith. During a council meeting, several elder Seraph voiced doubt. Their lights flared in sharp, distrustful tones. This human is unstable, one said. His thoughts disrupt our song. He may destroy the lattice instead of saving it. Another added, our kind has survived for eons without humans. Why must we depend on him now? Elias felt their suspicion like a cold weight pressing against his mind. For a moment he doubted himself too. What if they were right? What if he failed and the lattice shattered because of him? But Lyran stood before the council, her glow blazing bright. We have tried all we know and we are fading. The lattice needs something new. He is that newness. Without him we are already lost. Her defense silenced the chamber. Elias felt a surge of gratitude and fear. Their hope rested on him, and failure was not an option. That night, as he prepared to sleep, Elias stared out at the glowing spires and whispered to himself, "One chance? That's all they're giving me." The words of the original message returned to him. Do it now or it will be too late. And he realized something important. It wasn't only their survival at stake. It was humanity's chance to prove what they stood for. Not just exploration or curiosity, but compassion. If he succeeded, it would be remembered as the moment humans became more than wanderers in the stars. If he failed, they would be the species that let another civilization die. The weight pressed heavily on his shoulders, yet in the quiet he found resolve. He would not let fear define him. He would step into the unknown, because that was what humans did best. The next day, Elias stood in the great lattice chamber once again. The crystal structure loomed above him, glowing faintly, its rhythm broken by sharp cracks of silence. Around him, hundreds of Seralith gathered, their bodies shimmering in soft colors, their voices blending into a mournful harmony. Lyraean stood close to him, her light flickering with calm determination. "Today we begin the true practice," she said. "You will step deeper into the resonance field. It will test you. You must not close your mind even when it feels unbearable." Elias nodded nervously. His heart raced. He had survived the early exercises where he shared small fragments of memory and feeling. But this time they would attempt full resonance, an open exchange of everything inside him. He wasn't sure if his human mind could handle it. The ritual began. Lyraean guided him to the center of the chamber, where a circle of crystals rose from the floor like giant tuning forks. As he stepped inside, the air vibrated with sound, humming deep in his chest. The Seralith surrounded the circle, their lights pulsing together in steady rhythm. Elias closed his eyes. He felt a gentle touch on his mind like the brush of a breeze. It was Lyran. "Do not resist," her voice echoed within him. "Let it flow," he tried. Memories rose without his control. His childhood running through fields of grass, his first day at the academy, the loneliness he felt during long years of study. The Seralith received each memory, and their lights shifted in response. He felt them weaving his emotions into their song. Then came more painful memories. The loss of his parents, the rejection he faced when others thought his studies were useless, the quiet nights when he questioned his worth. These too spilled into the resonance. Elias flinched, ashamed, but Lyran's voice soothed him. "Your pain is part of your pattern. Do not hide it." The Seralith wove even his sorrow into their harmony. And strangely, the broken lattice above flickered with a steadier rhythm. Hours passed. Elias was exhausted, drenched in sweat, but the resonance pulled him deeper. The Seralith shared their own memories with him. Centuries of harmony, festivals of light, the beauty of crystal storms across their oceans. But also their fear, their despair, the terrible silence spreading through their lattice. The flood of feelings nearly drowned him. He gasped, clutching his chest. His mind swirled, unable to separate his thoughts from theirs. I can't hold this," he cried aloud. Lyraean stepped closer, her glow fierce and steady. "Yes, you can, because you are human." "What does that mean?" Elias shouted. His vision blurred. "I feel like I'm breaking apart." Lyran's voice was firm. "It means you bend. You do not shatter. That is your gift. Hold to it." Her words struck something deep within him. Humans had always been fragile compared to other species. Weak bodies, short lifespans, limited strength. But they adapted. They endured storms, wars, and loss. They survived by bending instead of breaking. Elias forced himself to breathe, letting the chaos settle. Instead of fighting the flood of feelings, he let them wash through him. His grief mixed with their sorrow, his joy with their hope, and slowly the resonance began to stabilize. The lattice responded. Cracks of darkness softened. Its song grew clearer, brighter. Gasps of awe rippled through the Seralith chamber. When the session ended, Elias collapsed to his knees, trembling. Lyran helped him up, her hand cool and firm against his arm. "You did it," she said softly. The lattice sang with you. Elias shook his head, breathing hard. Barely. I thought I was going to die. You did not, Liran replied with calm certainty. Because you are stronger than you believe. He looked into her glowing form, feeling gratitude swell in his chest. For the first time, he began to believe it too. Over the following days, the training deepened. Elias learned not just to share memories, but to shape them. The Seralith taught him how to let his imagination create patterns that could ripple through the resonance. Where they repeated the same stable tones, he introduced new rhythms. Where they feared disorder, he showed them how disorder could form beauty. One evening, during a practice, he imagined the laughter of children on Earth. He filled the resonance with the sound of small voices, the chaos of play, the joy of mistakes and surprises. The Seralith gasped in wonder as the lattice pulsed brighter, more stable than before. Another time he remembered a storm he had survived as a boy, lightning, thunder, wind that shook the world. Instead of fear, he remembered the thrill, the awe of nature's wildness. He sent that memory into the resonance, and the Seralith wove it into their song. The lattice absorbed it, growing stronger. You see, Liran said with pride. It is your unpredictability. That is the missing note. Elias laughed weakly. So I'm saving your world by being messy? Yes, she said with a bright pulse. By being human, but the strain was taking its toll. Each session left Elias weaker, his mind stretched thin. He sometimes woke in the night gasping, still caught in the flood of Seralith emotions. His body ached and his thoughts blurred. The Seralith healers tended to him with soft vibrations that soothed his nerves, but they warned him. No human had ever gone this deep before. Too much resonance could tear his mind apart. Elias tried to hide his fear, but Liran saw it. One night she found him staring out at the ocean, his hands trembling. You doubt yourself, she said gently. I doubt everything, Elias admitted. What if I can't hold on? What if I collapse during the final joining and the lattice falls with me? Your whole world depends on me and I'm not sure I'm enough. Liran's glow softened. You are enough. Not because you are perfect, but because you try. That is all Harmony needs, the courage to continue the song. Her words warmed him. He realized then that the bond between them had grown deeper than training or duty. They trusted each other completely, but not all Seralith shared that trust. Some still doubted. One elder confronted Elias after a session. His light was sharp and cold. Human, you risk our survival with your chaos. You are unstable. What if your mind fails in the final moment? Elias met his gaze steadily, though fear stirred inside. Then I'll fail trying, but if I walk away, you'll fail for sure. Isn't trying better than doing nothing? The elder was silent, then turned away without answer. Elias exhaled slowly. Liran touched his shoulder. You speak as only a human can. That is why I believe in you. As the days passed, storms grew across the planet. The sky darkened with cracks of unstable energy. The lattice's song faltered more each night. Time was running out. One evening, the council gathered to decide the date of the final joining. The chamber glowed with anxious light. Liran stood beside Elias, her voice clear and firm. It must be tomorrow, she declared. The lattice cannot wait. The elders hesitated, but the evidence was undeniable. The world trembled, and their hope rested on a single fragile human. When the council agreed, Elias felt both terror and resolve. Tomorrow he would step into the lattice one last time. Tomorrow everything would be decided. That night, Elias walked alone to the balcony overlooking the crystal sea. He stared at the horizon where lightning danced across the waves. His thoughts raced. Would he survive? Could his mind endure the full force of the resonance? Or would he burn out like a candle, leaving only silence behind? He thought of Earth, of home, of the people who never believed his studies mattered. He thought of Captain Torres waiting in orbit, trusting him to return. He thought of Liran, her glow steady beside him, her faith stronger than his own. And for the first time he felt something shift inside him, not fear, but acceptance. Maybe he wasn't ready. Maybe no one could ever be ready. But humans had always stepped into the unknown, not because they were fearless, but because they were willing. He whispered into the night, "If this is my one chance, then I'll take it." The ocean below shimmered in response, as if the planet itself was listening. The next morning, the great crystal chamber glowed brighter than ever. The Seralith had gathered in a vast circle around the central lattice, their lights pulsing with a quiet tension. Elias stood at the heart of it all, his hands trembling slightly. This was the moment. The final joining. Lyraean's glow shone steadily, calming him. "Are you ready, human?" she asked. Elias took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." The chamber fell silent. Even the faint hum of the lattice seemed to pause, waiting. Lyraean stepped forward and placed her hand, warm yet crystalline, on his shoulder. The contact sent a shiver through Elias's body. He felt her mind brush against his, gentle at first, like a feather. Then came the lattice itself, reaching, for him, a vast network of energy that hummed with the memories, joys, and fears of an entire species. It was overwhelming. "Do not resist," Lyraean whispered in his mind. "Flow with it. You are part of this now." Elias closed his eyes. His fear rose, clawing at him, but he forced it down. He imagined himself stepping into a river of light, letting the currents of the Seralith mines carry him. Slowly he began to feel their song, not just as sound, but as life itself. The lattice pulsed violently. Cracks of shadow ran through its beams. He realized the energy had been unstable for too long. If he didn't act quickly, the entire structure could collapse. He reached into his own memories, pulling threads of hope, courage, and compassion. He sent them into the lattice, letting them mingle with the Seralith song. And for the first time, he felt harmony forming, a new pattern, something the Seralith had never achieved alone. Lyraean's voice was strong now, guiding him. "Yes, human, let it flow. Let your chaos be part of our song." Elias felt a strange exhilaration. His thoughts, his feelings, even his mistakes, were weaving into something beautiful. He saw the lattice responding. Cracks of darkness began to close. Colors pulsed brighter, smoother, stronger. But it was not easy. The flood of emotions was nearly too much to bear. Pain, sorrow, love, and fear all mixed together, rushing through him. He gasped for breath, clutching his chest as his mind threatened to break. Shadows flickered in his vision. "Hold on," Lyraean shouted in his mind. "Your mind bends, human. Bend. Do not break." Elias gritted his teeth. He remembered the words she had spoken days ago. "Your chaos is your gift. Your unpredictability is what we need." He let go. He let the storm of emotions wash through him instead of fighting it. He imagined Earth, his family, his friends, all the small things that made life human. He poured these memories and feelings into the resonance. The lattice answered, its pulses synchronized with his heart, its colors glowing more vibrant than ever. The Seralith around him gasped, their lights dancing in awe. Time became meaningless. Minutes stretched like hours. Elias felt himself floating inside the lattice, connected to every Seralith present. He could feel their history, their joy, their pain. He could feel the future trembling before them. And he understood something deep and profound. This was more than survival. This was creation. The lattice began to stabilize. Its song harmonized, forming patterns of light and energy Elias had never imagined. The broken parts mended. The flickering shadows disappeared. The planet's energy pulsed steady, strong, alive. But the effort was draining him. His knees buckled. He felt the edges of his consciousness fraying. If he did not finish the joining soon, he could collapse, leaving the lattice incomplete. Lyran's voice came again, calm and reassuring. "Trust yourself. Trust what you bring." Elias summoned all his remaining strength. He poured into the lattice every ounce of human creativity, courage, and empathy he possessed. He let himself become a living bridge between worlds. He imagined songs, laughter, sunlight, storms, and rivers. He imagined the bond between life on Earth and life on Seralith Prime. The lattice responded with a pulse so bright it blinded him. Energy surged through his body, filling every nerve and cell. Pain and ecstasy mixed, but he held on, letting the experience transform him. And then, slowly, the flood receded. Elias opened his eyes. The chamber glowed with a gentle, steady light. The lattice was whole again, stronger than it had been in centuries. The Cerealith around him shone with joy, their voices lifting in a harmonious song that echoed across the spire. He stumbled back, exhausted, and Lyran caught him. Her glow was softer now, filled with gratitude and relief. "You did it," she whispered. "You saved us." Elias tried to smile, though his body trembled. "We did it," he corrected. "You let me help. That's what mattered." Lorrain's light pulsed gently in agreement. "You changed more than the lattice. You changed us, and you changed yourself." He realized she was right. Something inside him had shifted. He felt connected, not only to the Cerealith, but to something larger, a network of life, hope, and understanding. In the hours that followed, the Cerealith celebrated quietly, their lights glowing warmly across the chamber. For them, words were insufficient. They had no term for gratitude as humans understood it. But Elias could feel it radiating toward him, flowing through the lattice and into his heart. He sat with Lyran on the balcony overlooking the glowing ocean. Waves of refracted light spread across the surface, dancing like tiny stars. "You're tired," she said softly, her voice a gentle hum. "Yes," he admitted. "I've never felt anything like that. It was beautiful, but terrifying." "It is always terrifying to grow," Lyran said. "You opened yourself fully. Few beings ever do that." Elias nodded, gazing at the horizon. "I think I understand now. When you said, 'make love,' you meant connection, trust, sharing everything, even the parts that hurt or scare you. That's what it truly meant." Lorrain's glow shifted, brightening. "Exactly. And you did it. You are a part of us now, and we are part of you." The next day, Elias prepared to return to the Ardent. The lattice hummed steadily behind him, a living proof of their survival. The Cerealith gathered to see him off, their forms radiating a gentle, welcoming light. Lyran stood closest. "You will always be connected to us," she said. "Even across the stars, even across time." Elias smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. "And I will carry this with me. I will tell the story so others understand. Humanity can reach out and make a difference." She nodded. "And they will. Because of you." The shuttle lifted from the spire, rising into the glowing sky. Elias watched the planet below, its ocean sparkling, its spires shining, the lattice stable and alive. He had given everything, and yet he felt stronger than before. Not just in body, but in spirit. The Cerealith had taught him more than he could have imagined, not about language or patterns or resonance, but about trust, courage, and the true power of connection. The shuttle descended gently toward the Ardent, leaving the glowing spires of Cerealith Prime behind. Elias stared out at the planet below, its ocean sparkling like liquid jewels under the distant sun. The lattice he had saved pulsed softly, a steady heartbeat visible even from orbit. He felt exhausted yet alive. Every fiber of his body tingled with energy, and in his mind he could still feel the echoes of the Cerealith resonance. It was a strange, comforting feeling, like carrying a piece of another world inside him. Captain Torres met him at the airlock. Her face was a mixture of relief and curiosity. "Welcome back," she said. "I didn't think I'd see you looking." "Well, in one piece," Elias smiled faintly. "I'm okay. More than okay, actually. The lattice is stable. The Cerealith, they're alive. And I think I understand them now in a way I never could before." Torres studied him carefully. "Understand them?" "Elias, what exactly did you do down there?" He hesitated, unsure how to put the experience into words. "It's not something humans have a word for." "I connected fully, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, shared everything with them, and they shared everything with me. It was like becoming part of their world for a while." The captain raised an eyebrow. "And you lived through it?" "Yes," he said, laughing softly. "Barely, but we made it work. They're safe." Over the next few days, Elias helped the crew understand the Cerealith's messages and patterns. They reviewed the resonance logs, watched the lattice's energy stabilize, and marveled at the beauty of the planet below. Scientists speculated about the implications of human unpredictability, noting that Elias's mind had formed patterns the Seralith could never have imagined. Elias realized something important. Humans were special. Not because of strength or weapons or technology, but because of their ability to adapt, to feel, and to create. Their minds were messy, chaotic, and full of surprises, and sometimes that chaos could be exactly what the universe needed. He remembered Lyran's words, "Your chaos is your gift." He now understood fully what she meant. Lyran contacted him one final time before the Ardent left orbit. Her glowing form shimmered through the view screen. "You have done more than save our lattice," she said softly. "You have shown my people the value of human life, the power of trust, and the strength of connection. You are part of us now, human, and we are part of you." Elias felt a warmth spread through him. I feel the same. You've changed me too. I will never forget this, Lyran. Humanity should know what it means to be part of something bigger than ourselves." Her light pulsed gently, almost like a smile. "Then tell them, and let them learn. There is much we can share if your kind is willing." He nodded. "I will." The journey back to Earth was quiet. Elias spent hours alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars and reflecting on the past days. He thought of the Seralith, their fragile beauty, their fear and their hope. He thought of himself, a simple human among the vast cosmos, yet capable of changing the fate of another world. He realized that humans had something no other species seemed to have, empathy that could bend reality. Their unpredictability, their willingness to feel, to care, to act even without certainty. It was a power the Seralith needed, and perhaps other worlds would too. Elias felt proud, but humbly so. Humanity had been given a chance to shine not with strength or conquest, but with heart. And he had seen firsthand how far that heart could reach. When the Ardent reached Earth orbit, the crew celebrated quietly. They were scientists and explorers, but even they could feel the weight of what had been accomplished. Elias stepped out onto the observation deck, breathing in the familiar air, feeling the planet below like an old friend. He thought of the Seralith lattice, now stable and glowing across the oceans. He thought of Lyran, whose trust had allowed him to give everything he had, and he thought of humanity, how small, messy, and fragile they might seem in the galaxy, yet how capable of greatness they truly were. Captain Torres joined him, her expression thoughtful. "Elias, you've done something incredible. Not just for them, but for us too. Humanity might finally understand what it means to matter in the stars." Elias smiled. "We don't need weapons or speed or technology. We need heart. We need courage, and if we use it wisely, we can change worlds, not by destroying, but by connecting." Months later, Elias gave talks and briefings to scientists, diplomats, and educators. He shared the story of Seralith Prime, carefully avoiding anything too intimate or confusing for human audiences. He focused on the lesson he had learned, that humans were uniquely capable of creating change through empathy, connection, and imagination. People listened, amazed. Some were skeptical, but many were inspired. Slowly, humanity began to understand its potential, not just as explorers, but as a species capable of shaping the universe in ways that other beings could not. And in quiet moments, Elias would feel the Seralith resonance inside him, a gentle hum that reminded him of the ocean, the spires, and the countless lives he had touched. He was part of something greater, and it was beautiful. Back on Seralith Prime, Lyrian and her people celebrated in their own way. The lattice pulsed with steady energy, brighter than ever. They had survived, yes, but they had also learned something new. The unpredictable, messy, emotional humans were more than allies. They were partners in life, capable of creating harmony in ways even the Seralith could not. Lorraine's thoughts often returned to Elias. She could feel his influence in their lattice, the patterns he had left behind. And she knew that humanity had a place in the galaxy far larger than they had imagined. Elias himself often reflected on that first transmission, the words that had seemed so strange at first. "I am giving you one chance to make love to me. Human, do it now or it will be too late." Now he understood. It had never been about romance or desire. It had been about trust, courage, connection, and hope. And humanity had answered that call. He smiled, looking out at the stars. There would be other worlds, other crises, other chances, and when they came, humanity would be ready, not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they were human, unpredictable, courageous, compassionate, and full of heart. For the first time, Elias felt the truth deep in his soul. Humans were special, not just to themselves, but to the universe. And that knowledge, that understanding, shone brighter than any star. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and wonders. But for the first time, humans could face it with pride, knowing that sometimes the heart mattered more than anything else, and Elias, a simple linguist who had once doubted his own importance, had become the living proof. The stars stretched endlessly before him, but he no longer felt small. He felt limitless,